Today we are doing a challenge run of Earthbound. The only rule is I have to avoid getting experience at all costs. I won't be using any glitches or out-of-bounds tricks for this, and I will only be fighting monsters or bosses that I have to defeat in order to progress, meaning no grinding for money or experience. My day starts like every other. I wake up by a meteor smashing into my backyard. Like any notable event that happens, I flock to the event site with the rest of the town only to be told by a fat kid that I can go to bed. Returning home, my mom is mad at me for leaving home in my pajamas, so she sends me back to my room. But not long after that, someone is trying to bash down my front door. I go to investigate to find the fat kid breaking into my house, but since I caught him, I make him come with me to save his little brother. Getting to the top of the hill, we find his brother, and finally someone else hears the ringing in my ears. But then a definitely not radioactive fly hops out of the meteor and tells me the same thing that weird guy on the subway told me. Then we're on our way. We get stopped by a 1950s spaceman, which Spider-Man fly kills in a single attack, and it nets us our first experience points of the run. Just as a side note, I know there's actually a glitch to skip this fight, but since this is glitchless, I can't use the skip. Returning the fat kid and his brother to their parents, we find their dad has a old-fashioned sense of discipline. Then their mom shows that the average middle-aged housewife's power level is higher than the average housefly's power level in the future. So our dying bug gives us a musical stone. I guess he was holding? Anyway, he gives us a stone and he tells us to go see Giant's footprint. So we leave and go to our friend's clubhouse and we steal all their hats. Then, before going to see the hole, we need to go beat up an adult who's running a gang of children. And it's not Peter Pan. On our way there, there's 2 more forced fights with the gang, which we clean up easily and it nets us 2 more levels, bringing us up to level 4. Frank is a bit tougher than our past fights. He brought a knife to a kid fight. But after a while, RNG smiled down on me and I got 2 crits and I beat Frank, netting us 50 experience in our first fight in which we did not level up. Now Frank, being a total nerd, then sent a robot he built to fight me, the Frankenstein Mark II. And he beat us really quickly. So we buy a better bat and we prepare for another fight. After what feels like pummeling a garbage can, Frankenstein is defeated. And we gain 76 experience points and rise to level 5. Frank then apologizes, probably for stabbing me. We go and we talk to the mayor and he gives us the key to the city, which of course the first thing that we try to do is open some random shack. The shack we find has a hole in the back of it and it actually leads to a cave, so naturally we go into the cave. The cave was uneventful, so after running away from ants, slugs, and rowdy mice, we find the Titanic Ant. This gigantic ant stole my sanctuary location and sucked up all of its power. This fight absolutely broke me. I ended up losing a lot to this ant, nets his life, all my items, and my sanity. After a few hours of attempts, I was finally able to beat the ant, and I'll just let my live reaction play out.
Yes, cast defense down. It became tame! Oh my god. What a long fight.
Adding a whopping 41 deaths to our counter. He also gave us 759 experience, bringing Ness's total experience up to 929, and brings him to level 7. After observing the toe holes, I get in trouble with the police. They tell me to come downtown, so of course we skip town. Nah, just kidding. We went back to see what they want. They take us in the back room where we learn about the justice system, and they try to beat our face in. After beating up 4 of them, the captain has his own plans for us. So we beat him up too. After which he comes to his senses, and he calls in the boys to open the road to Tucson. Heading to Tucson, we hear a commotion in the park. We go to scope out the scene and we find a woman really not enjoying the peanut stand. Her husband has gone berserk and has climbed a house to escape her gasping. He then leaps from his perch and attacks us. He must have known I don't like peanuts. After bashing his head in with a bat, he just goes inside. He must have had a really good life insurance policy on his wife. So we let nature take its course, and we skip town. We don't get far and we find a metal pencil blocking our exit. We head back into town to look for help. Some obese kid has the solution that we need, the pencil eraser. So we try out the eraser on the statue and it magically vanishes too. Finally leaving town, we find a house and we go inside to find a child locked in a cage. We step outside to try to call CPS, but the fat kid from before brought his friends from art class, and they're probably upset that they wasted their money on a useless degree. After beating up the art majors, we decided to go check the neighboring town for help. We enter the biggest, fanciest house in town to find that it's actually the cult house, filled with a metric ton of cultists. Wading through, we only have a single art major to fight.
Ah! I scream because I don't know what else to do.
The cult leader is just like every other. He calls down lightning from the sky, but with our divine protection from Paula's prayers, we reflect the lightning, and the cult leader attacks. His hubris gets the best of him, and he actually fries himself with his own lightning, netting us 1,412 experience, bringing Ness's total to 5,162, and bringing Ness to level 13. And then the town finally realizes that they were a cult. If only it were that easy in real life. That fat kid said that he was sorry for joining the cult. Or not, I guess. We go free Paula from her jail cell, and we finally get our second party member. Together, with new equipment in hand, we head to the cave behind town to battle our second My Sanctuary location. This time it's a giant mole. I had a really hard time keeping Paula alive since she's actually still level 1, but without too much difficulty, we are able to take out the mole and absorb the song of the second My Sanctuary location. We head back to Tuscon to show Paula's parents that she's still alive. Then I decided to take her out to a concert. The band loved us so much that they took us for a ride to Threed. Our rockin' tunes are so loud that even ghosts can't keep up with us. Upon reaching Threed, the band realizes that they just kidnapped 2 kids, and they decide to ditch them immediately. So we go find a hotel and find a hot babe beckoning us inside. Following her, we get ganked by zombies and ghosts, and they toss us into an open grave. Not exactly ideal date plans. Finding the door to our last apartment, locked, Paula prays for a new friend to come save us. Jeff, all the way in Winters, hears her prayer and sets out on his new quest. First, he takes all the neighbors' cookies. Then he gets a machine that opens doors, especially when you have a slightly bad key. We use that key machine to leave the boarding school and find the store just outside. Going in, we find a monkey that loves bubblegum. So we share some of our bubblegum with him, and then he decides to follow us around. After getting some soup from the Loch Ness Monster watching committee, Monkey summons the Great Beast to take us on a ride. Hopping off, Jeff is immediately killed by a goat. So after riding Nessie down again, we enter a maze that my 4-year-old made. Probably. We get to the creator of the maze, Brick Road, and then pass by Ness's sanctuary location. We will save that for later. Then our monkey friend ditches us for a girl. Jeff makes his way down to his father's lab and asks to borrow the car. Jeff's dad, being a top-notch dad, gives him the keys, and Jeff is on his way. Maybe it's because Jeff is 5, or maybe it's because he lived at a prison school his whole life, but he doesn't really know how to fly his ship, and he smashes it directly into the ground. Fortunately, it's right where Ness and Paula are buried. Using the machine that opens doors, especially when you have a slightly bad key on the door, it unlocks, and it lets us escape our grave. Looking for my ex-girlfriend, we find a new tent. Attempting to enter, we find the tent is actually alive, or at least it has a face. The tent gives us each 1,834 experience and leaves us a fly of jar honey. We get a call from the obese inventor kid again. This time he's invented flypaper for zombies. Great. We have it delivered and then we place it all over the big tent floor. The zombies come from all over town and join the floor party, but they get stuck to the zombie paper. I wonder if that kid makes women paper. Look, a little tiny pile of puke, giving 2,507 experience to each of us. Ness hits level 16, Paula reaches 13, and Jeff makes it to level 14. After the little pile of barf, we head to Saturn Valley. Yeah, those little head creatures from Smash Bros. They're from Earthbound! We then learn from them the secret to get into the base behind the waterfall. The base has another forced fight just before the boss, another pile of barf. After killing it, it nets Paula and Jeff an additional level. Belch is pretty much the same. Horrors from my nightmares. We feed him a jar of fly honey and he forgets that he's battling us. Defeating him, we just gain 4,170 experience. After freeing all the Mr. Saturns, we head to the next My Sanctuary location and battle a pile of dirt. We take him out easily and get the biggest experience dump so far of the run, with 11,345 each character, bringing Ness and Jeff both up to level 21, and Paula lagging behind slightly at level 19. With the darkness of Threed dissipated, we can now travel to Fourside. But before we get there...
Drugs!
We feed this guy a hamburger and we ask him to dig a big hole for us. We then head into town to find our kidnappers are still finding work and we go to their concert. After the show, the guy that we shared a hamburger with has run into a snag. There are now 5 moles in his hole and he wants us to get them out. So we steamroller the 3rd strongest, we beat up the 3rd strongest, we pummel the 3rd strongest, we trash the 3rd strongest, and finally we kill the 3rd strongest of... Did I just have a stroke? After battling it out with the moles, the party takes a break and goes to a concert. Then, we head to the newly opened department store. Remember those? Don't forget to take your meds. Paula gets kidnapped by something, so we head up to the manager's office to get her back. We've seen enough anime to know where this is going, and we need to put a stop to that. Breaking down after not being able to find Paula, we head to the bar, only to hear a huge commotion outside. We go to check it out and we find that Everdred is taking a nap in the alleyway. But then he gets up and he just walks away. To celebrate his good health, we go back inside and help ourselves to the good stuff behind the counter. But we probably drank a little bit too much. Waking up, yes means no and no means yes, and the ground is made of neon lights, and man, I hate the flu. Hello, and goodbye. Welcome to Moonside, Evil Mind and Money, Ness and Jeff, 14,070. Waking back up in reality, we climb the Monotoli tower where Paula is now being held. The robotic security guards were mostly avoidable, only having to battle 2 of them, and a clumsy robot. Just when it looks like we're going to lose, our favorite band comes into the room and flips the switch on his back. Now we are finally reunited with Paula. Mr. Monotoli tells us to take his helicopter to Summers. That's like a kid's dream, just to be given a helicopter. But then the fat kid steals it before we can get it. Fortunately, the people at Threed have been working to repair Jeff's dad's car, and we take it back to his lab. We haven't forgot about that My Sanctuary location. We decide to challenge it right now. The shroom is a cakewalk. So we return to Jeff's dad and he notices the car is not the same car. So we hop in and take off. Safely landing, we tell our buddy from boarding school that my name is your mom. Then we go eat a special tart from a street cart. I should be a rapper. So check out SoundCloud for my next drop. Waking up, I realize my life is just like The Hangover. And we're somebody else. So we meet a friendly ghost who just wants to borrow most of my body and my mind. But it turns out it's all a test. I'm alright. I go back to the palace, and I level up 3 times, and then I warp to join Ness, Paula, and Jeff. The team then travels on a boat and sails for Scaraba. On our way, the legendary sea creature tries to attack our ship. Children are usually good at killing legendary sea creatures, and this time it is no different. We deserved a break, so we decided we were going to go watch a concert. Nah, I'm just kidding. I'm not going to make you watch this one. It's 2.5 minutes. So we go through the sewer and we find a pizza rat instead. Absorbing the next My Sanctuary location, we go learn at the museum. After that, we go feed carrots to bunnies and battle Thunder and Storm. Somehow. After enjoying a pink cloud, we dance in front of the Sphinx and battle the spirit inside. Escaping the pyramid, Pooh decides he's done with us and leaves. We replace him with a giant guy and he helps us travel across the sea to a lovely swamp. Crossing the swamp, we meet an old stench, which Pooh then returns with his new attack, Psy Starstorm, and beats him easily. We then get to meet a bunch of cute little people, but we learn that all of our friends, and also Jeff's dad, were kidnapped by probably Pokey. Searching for them, we find out there's an alien base under Stonehenge. We gain entry with our new Eraser, and we find all of our friends in test tubes. We kick down the door to find the next Taco Bell meal. Not now, Dad! Going back to the Cute People Village, we find our 7th My Sanctuary location, and this one is really easy. We get to learn about Ness's thoughts, we get foreshadowed this. We reach the final sanctuary, but it's guarded by Carbon Dog. He dazzles us with his tricks, but he's no match for no laws against animal cruelty. We have a vision of Ness walking up a hill, then we see him as a baby. We end up in Ness's mind and we have to destroy the evil. I had to battle this Kraken because I just did not see any way around it. We're able to evade the other two Krakens and then just battle with Ness's Nightmare. He killed me once, though with an attack that just brings my HP to 0 no matter how much health I have. Slaying the Nightmare, Ness gains 89,004 experience, bringing Ness to a level of... Wait, Ness gained 200,000 experience? Ness is a beast, gaining 148 hit points and 272 PP in a single level. Ness is just about at peak power. We then return to the real world with our friends, and we know what we must do. Go see Mom. Except everything is dark now, and the strongest monsters in the game are now running around Onett. Getting the meteorite we need, we head back to Saturn Valley to travel through time. But the living cannot travel through time. Only machines. And Pokey. And Starman. And flies. Is this about the car? Either way, we're gonk droids now.
I did not know that one of these was here. That is such a cool color scheme.
Moving on, we climb the tendrils and see that Giygas is seeing red. The fat kid from before just shows up and he's blue now. He must have also gotten into the peanut stand. Giygas just seems to be too powerful for us to fight, and Pokey wants to really let it loose. He turns off the devil machine, and the true form of Giygas is unleashed. With nothing left to do, we simply pray. And Giygas takes damage. Okay, we're gonna keep praying then. Eventually, Giygas becomes unstable and his essence collapses. Our dead droid bodies are cast out of the cave, but our souls move on, and somehow travel through time and back to our lifeless bodies. Which they didn't even bury! They just left us out in the sun, roasting! Is this because of the car? So all in all, I have the stats for all of my characters here, and it was kind of surprising to see how little experience I actually needed. So as you saw on screen, Ness finished the game at level 53. Additionally, he had 853,616 experience. Paula completed the game at level 43, with almost half of what Ness had at 432,678 experience. Jeff completed the game at the lowest level at level 41, with 477,224 experience. Which I thought was kind of strange. I thought that it was weird that Jeff was lower level than Paula, but had like 50,000 more experience. And then Pooh finally was level 42, with 348,326 experience. So again, he's higher level than Jeff, and he's got like 120,000 experience lower. We ended up battling a total of 47 enemies, which was actually silly that we were able to beat the game with that few fights. I believe it was 43 fights that we ended up fighting, not including Giygas. This ended up actually being a lot of fun as a challenge run. It wasn't nearly as difficult as I thought. Dying to the ant so many times right in the beginning, I was expecting the game to be a lot worse than it actually was. The rest of the game actually went pretty smoothly, especially once we started getting new party members. And I'm sure you're wondering how many times I actually died. Like, how many times I game overed. Not my characters died, but game overed. And that number is going to be on screen right here. So a couple things going forward. I obviously want to do more videos like this. So definitely leave any recommendations that you would have for challenge runs you think I should try, you think I would be good at, you think that would be interesting to watch. The next one that I have planned is going to be a much shorter one. I want to try and alternate a little bit between the big ones like this one, and then smaller ones like the one that I plan to do next. If you have any ideas, please, like I said, leave them down in the comments. I will try to get to them if I can do them and they're not impossible challenges. I'll give you a hint on the next big one though. It's going to be Dark Souls 2. But that's all the hints that you get about that. Thank you everybody so much for watching. My name is Sam. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next video.